7:49 p.m. on March 25, 1943, a B-24 Liberator bomber lifted off from Clovis Army Air Base into the cool New Mexico night. Their orders were routine: a navigation training flight to Pueblo, Colorado and back, expected to take less than 2 hours from taxi to landing. For the young airmen, it should have been a short exercise. Just one more step in the relentless pace of wartime training that filled their days. Inside the cockpit, First Lieutenant George Wiggins adjusted the throttles, the steady hum of 4 Pratt & Whitney engines filling the night. Beside him, Second Lieutenant William Bowerman reviewed the gauges, the needles quivering under the strain of takeoff power. In the cramped compartment behind them, Navigator John Crowley unfolded his charts, while Bombardier Hoyt Phelps leaned against the window, watching the lights of Clovis fade into darkness. The engineers, Walter Shigelski and Franklin Bynum, moved down the fuselage, listening for changes in pitch or vibration. Near the radio set, Sergeants Walter Diamond and Edward Foley strained through static, waiting for their first call sign. The flight was smooth at first, but the farther north they flew, the darker and heavier the sky became. As the aircraft crossed into the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, the weather shifted with sudden ferocity. The altimeter needles ticked down, and soon the crew was flying blind, entirely on instruments in a dark blizzard. The storm swallowed them whole. Beyond the windshields, snow streaked past in blinding torrents, erasing the horizon and turning the world into a white void. The dials told them they were level, but every instinct screamed otherwise. Wind buffeted the bomber, rattling its frame, while ice hissed and hammered against the skin. The engines droned beneath the storm's roar, steady but powerless to break the suffocating white that engulfed them. The pilots, First Lieutenant George Wiggins and Second Lieutenant William Bowerman, worked their instruments intently, aware of the ridges looming unseen in the darkness. For the navigator and bombardier, plotting courses and checking charts became nearly impossible as the storm distorted bearings. In the cramped fuselage, the engineers and radio operators listened to the engines strain while static hissed across the radio. Then came the first sickening jolt. Somewhere below, unseen in the dark, the wingtips began clipping treetops. Each strike was a violent snap, wood shattering against metal. The bomber shuddered as if recoiling from the blows. In the seconds that followed, chaos erupted inside the fuselage. Perhaps 6 of the crewmen scrambled toward the hatches, fumbling with parachutes in the frantic hope of escape. The pilot stayed fixed at the controls, refusing to leave his seat, fighting with every ounce of strength to lift the big bomber over the ridge that he could not see. Then came the final moment. In a straight and level attitude at cruising speed, the bomber struck the mountainside at more than 11,000 feet. Ranchers below later recalled hearing the thunder of a low-flying aircraft, and then the sudden eruption of an explosion that lit up the mountainside. The final impact scattered wreckage across 5 acres of snowy ridgeline. The pilot remained strapped in his seat, a testament to his determination to keep the bomber aloft until the last second. All 8 crew members perished together, their mission ending in the unforgiving terrain in a remote area, 17 miles south of Pine Haven. The Rocky Mountain News soon published the names of the fallen crew. Pilot First Lieutenant George W. Wiggins, 27 years old, from Corpus Christi, Texas. Pilot Second Lieutenant William R. Bowerman, 26 years old, from Long Beach, California. Navigator Second Lieutenant John T. Crowley, 24 years old, from Des Moines, Iowa. Bombardier Second Lieutenant Hoyt A. Phelps, 21 years old, from Lovell, Michigan. Flight Engineer Sergeant Walter S. Shigelski, 24 years old, from South Bend, Indiana. Assistant Engineer Sergeant Franklin O. Bynum, 21 years old, from Sweetwater, Texas. Radio Operator Sergeant Walter G. Diamond, 31 years old, from Milton, New York. And Assistant Radio Operator Sergeant Edward P. Foley, 21 years old, from New York City, New York. Today, fragments of that Liberator B-24 still lie on a ridge in southern Colorado, weathered but enduring. Hikers who wade through a creek and claw their way up that steep ridge still find pieces of twisted aluminum resting where they fell in 1943. The storm has long since passed, but the mountain holds their story. One of young men who lifted into the sky for training and met their final test in darkness, snow, and fire. They are an enduring reminder that freedom was purchased by young men who faced the storm, held their course, and gave their last full measure of devotion in the dark.